The wait is over. We are live. I'm back. This is probably the first time. Oh my goodness. The work doesn't seem to cease, that's for sure. First time I walk in my chat room, my channel, and there's well over 100 people up in here waiting for me to show up. Thank you, everybody. My goodness. Thank you so much. And the numbers are going to get big tonight. You better holler at somebody. They need to be in here. They need to be in here tonight. I was supposed to go live last night. Something just wasn't sticking right. I was able to get some information right on time, and I said, I got to push it up. Hopefully no one was disappointed, but I promise you, I will not disappoint you tonight. Thank you so much for waiting. Thank you all around. Those of you who are just joining us, we're just getting started. We're going to dig right into this as quickly as I can. There's much to cover. I know that it's been an exciting weekend coming out of into the week. Chris McDonough has been doing an absolute sensational job covering the Summer Wells case. And that's what we're here to talk about tonight, our continuation of covering the Summer Wells case, sharing our thoughts, our perspective on what we see and understand and come to understand as to the different pieces of the case coming together. And it's coming together fast, whether you know it or not. This case is coming together very fast, faster than YouTube, that's for sure. So, my goodness, all the love up in the house. Welcome, everybody. Miss Harmony, Jennifer, Rebecca, Vicky, Pease. We've got Expose the Truth. I made you a mod? Expose the Truth? Oh, my God. Okay, Leslie B. up in the house, moderating tonight. Miss Nay, much love to you, moderating for tonight. There's going to be a bunch of moderators in here, and we're going to fill up this chat room. We're going to fill it up tight because those of you who were with us in our last live, we nearly hit 1,000 people in John Q's chat room. I must have said something. We must have looked at something. We must have did something. Wonder what that was. Maybe we are moving closer. I believe we are. And so I want to welcome everyone. Sound check in the room before we begin. I want to put a 1 for yes, 2 for I can't hear you. And we're going to get things moving right along fairly quickly. If we can, thanks so much for all the love. My goodness. We've got a good sound check. Very good. Shan D is in the house. Tori's in the house. Misunderstood's in the house. LT is in the house. TT is in the house. Soul Survivor's in the house. Anna Brown is in the house. D Sunshine is in the house. Mary Martins is in the house. Lorraine Muhammad is in the house. Elizabeth Lander is in the house. Oh, the names are just scrolling so fast. DB is in the house. Anna D is in the house. Jennifer Rebecca's in the house. Queen Talks Crime is in the house. Much love to Queen Talks Crime. I was with her on her channel covering a lot of the information that we covered on our last live. Much love goes out to her and her subscribers, her team working with her on the Summer Wells case. Tack is in the house. Cat's Eye is in the house. Dancing Queen is in the house. Hawkeye Seneca is in the house. Jiggy England is in the house. Tony Lee is in the house. Susie Bogus is in the house. Daisy T is in the house. Tracy is in the house. Tony Lee is in the house. Lisa's in the house. Nancy, hello Nancy, is in the house. Unsolved with Barbara Smith is in the house. Tennessee Girl is in the house. Carol Johnson is in the house. Dawn is in the house. JB is in the house. Katz Wright is in the house. Ruth Hillis is in the house. Roxanne Williams is in the house. Royal Blue in the house. Del Rayburn Dell is in the house. Keitra is in the house. Rhonda is in the house. Street T is in the house. Welcome, everybody. On the Lake is in the house. Woo! Okay. Jennifer Marie is in the house. Thank you all so much. Shadok is in the house. Curly is in the house. Sweet P is in the house. Over 200 now and counting. This room is going to go on blast, folks. This room is going on blast. A lot of the information that we've been covering on the Summer Wells case has been very specific. I look for specific things whenever I look at a case, and I'm not all over the place. I'm not looking at a whole lot of information. As you can see, it is a lot. Thank goodness we have great content creators out there covering a broad spectrum of information pertaining to this case. My main interest, what really sets me going on this case is the timeline. And the timeline is most important in all cases, especially this case. You've heard Chris McDonough cover some of that timeline with you. He's taken us out to the location, the contact site, as he calls it. And he has spoken about the timeline. It's a crime, True Crimes has spoken about the timeline. Many content creators have gone over the timeline. And this is a critical part of the case, is the timeline. What happened that day, June 15th? How did it all begin for all of the people that were involved? How did it begin for Candace? How did it begin for her mother? How did it begin for the boys? How did it begin for Summer Wells? How did it begin for Donald? How did it begin for the dogs? How did that day begin for this family? And from that point on, from the time the first person woke up out of the bed up until the police arrived looking for Summer Wells, hence is our timeline. The 13th and 14th is also included in that timeline. So it's not just the day. I like to cover 72 hours of a timeline because we have a cause and effect element in this case. Things happen not just because they happen. Things happen for a reason. And that causality has to come from someplace. What caused the causality to happen on June 15th? How did we get to June 15th, and how did those events unfold? Why did they unfold the way they did? And why certain things were done on that day that still puzzles us all? Critical questions. And so in looking at this, my perspective, I'm looking at certain details within the body of the timeline. I can go to Chris and listen to him for hours talk about this case, and I have. And he's covered a tremendous amount in a short period of time, bringing us all the up close and personal interviews. Thank you so much, Chris McDonough, from the interview room, for putting out that magnificent effort that you and your wife and your crew have done to bring this case here live on YouTube, to bring us that information. Also, other content creators, Tiffany Marie, on her channel, she has brought up-to-date information on this case. I can't get enough of showing my gratitude and appreciation for those content creators. I try to name them without forgetting too many of them because they've all made a contribution. I hope to make another contribution tonight. Ooh, with that said, we got a good sound check. We have everybody in the house. The numbers are climbing. We're well over 240 people here. Those numbers will continue to multiply now that John Q is live. I wanted to just cover just a tad bit with you. From our first live, we talked about line of sight, which was so critical at the resident. Line of sight. How did Summer Wells get away from the line of sight of Candace and Grandma and the boys? How did she get out of the line of sight is the question. I wanted to know. That's where I started. I said, there's got to be something here in a small frame of time that made the actions of what occurred to occur. And I looked at that and began to work backwards. Everyone tries to work forward, but you have to start from the contact point or crime scene and then begin to work backwards from there. And excellent content creators have done just that. Tonight, we're going to be taking a look at a certain element of that contact point and what happened. In our last live, we covered specific line of sight to striking distance. How long and where was Summer Wells taken from the property, if she was taken at all? Some still speculate that perhaps Summer Wells walked off the property. And you have to keep that on the table. Some speculate that there was a stranger abduction. Sorry to say, that just doesn't ring, because in part 2 of our coverage, we abolished the stranger abduction and began to narrow down an abduction, a regular, someone knows that terrain, someone knows the house, someone's been on that property. Abduction, we can buy a whole lot better. We haven't covered the third element that should be on the table as well. Was there an accident at the house? Was there an accident? If it was, we have to keep that on the table. Did Summer Wells walk off that property without being seen and somehow got lost? Possibly. Was there an abduction by a second party? I would say most likely. I'm leaning towards yes, most likely, because that's where the evidence is leading us. Was there an accident? We're going to cover all three here tonight. So with that said, give me 30 seconds as always. Let me get my my thinking cap on, and I will come back and we will begin tonight's live. The abduction theory. And was there an accident? Could there have been some kind of an accident? I'll be right back, folks. Okay, so we are back and we're going to be covering a lot of information. I'm just getting all set up. Thank you so much. My goodness, I think we're almost over 300 people. I am glad that you are with me here tonight for part 3, continuation of our case. We're going to go to screen share. We're going to get things started. Obviously, before we do, we always throw up our copyright disclaimer. The information that we're going to share with you has come from sources from the internet, on YouTube, and elsewhere online. We are sharing this information under the fair use doctrine, under the fair use law, and fair use is permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit education and personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. This is for criticism, commentary, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. The information I'm going to share with you tonight is not personally of my own. I'm not the owner of the material or the items being shared, and so therefore, everything that I share with you tonight falls under the Copyright Act disclaimer and the Fair Use Act. So with that said, before I begin, I always love to begin starting here. This crucial case that I'm still working on. And that case is classic and sincere. The boys out of California City that went missing allegedly December 21st of 2020 and has still yet to be found. Case is being worked on right now by the Bakersfield Police Department, its investigators, and we need to have an update from them as to what progress is being made on this case. I hope they hear me in Bakersfield. I hope they hear me, John Q, and the rest of anyone who's a content creator who's covered this case. We need to get an update. We need to get an update. Type a 1 in the room if we need an update from Bakersfield Police. Let them know. Let them know right now so that this way when they visit and see this live, they see that everyone wants an update on the boys, and not just the standard update that they've been giving. We want to see some kind of progress made on the boys. Don't tell us you have 1,039 leads and nothing is we heard that already. And tell us that you've searched 66 places or 3 states or 4 states. Well, okay. All right. Where is your spokesperson or the lead investigator on this case today? Who is that? That's who we want to know. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We want to know where the boys are. And we need to keep shouting that until they get back on TV, whether it be WKEG TV News to give us an update and their progress. We want a continued progress report on the boys, now going into its 8th month. Came out of California City. We heard the story from Jacqueline and Giselle West. Quite a story indeed. And they're still at large. Why is that? After all has been said and done, why isn't anyone in the adoptive family shouting from the roof about the boys? Or the biological family still shouting, I want my kids back? What is up with that? My father used to say, the silence is more the suspect than the noise made. The silence is more the suspect than the noise coming from the story. So we want to hear some noise. because it already begins to point at suspects, doesn't it? Those that keep silent are withholding, aren't they? They see something but say nothing, do nothing, stay idle with the information. When they need to step up, give us a progress report, or give us your intentions as to whether you want these boys back or not. It's that simple. But we don't see anything from either side. Why is that? That's incredible. If one of our children went missing, I know sure as hell if one of mine went missing, you'd hear my voice every single day, every single chance, until you got sick and tired of me talking. It's incredible. But like I said, the silence is more the suspect than the noise that's being made. Let's get justice for Classic and Sincere. Bring our boys home already. Give us a progress report. Give us an update. Moving right along. Much love to Classic and Sincere. I believe they are still alive. I believe they may be separate. I believe we will get an answer somewhere. We keep digging at it. I certainly will keep digging at it. I know Lady Queen on her channel is still digging at it. I know Crenshaw and Miss Roro and AV Watchman, LV United We Stand. I know that they're still on this case. AV News is still on this case. We want a progress report. Bakersfield Police Department is the message I wanted to get out on this. It's time. It's time to bring the boys home now. I don't care how many search warrants you have out there. Bring somebody in for re-questioning. How's that? Start there. And if you question them already 5 times, bring them back in and question them again. See if the story changes. But whatever you do, get some progress, get some motion on this case, please. Bakersfield Police Department. www.wheretheboys.com. If you're not familiar with it, please post this on your desktop so that you can check it on a week-to-week basis. Cash Gernon, Darian Brown, back in the news this week. Darian Brown, according to, I believe it was Monday, August 9th, news came out of this case, was indicted on all 5 charges, all 5 counts in this case. If you are aware of it, that's what happened. I got that news source from Miss Tiffany Marie, who did a recent posting. She goes over the 5 counts indictment on her channel. Please subscribe to Miss Tiffany Marie to get that update. I think she did a fantastic job reading the actual indictments out loud so that we know that this case is moving forward with the prosecutor. And now the defense attorney has got to have this case on top of his table. And hopefully they don't try to, the courts that is, rush to judgment and try to drag the defense attorney into something too quickly. I'm sure that Heath Harris will, along with the second attorney, Valerie Bastian, will cover what they need in order to build Darian Brown's defense. Did he do it? Well, the prosecution believes so now, with the indictment now in place. So keep your eyes on this case, folks. It's going to start to warm up and get hot again. So justice for Cash Gernon. And hopefully if Darian Brown did do the crime at hand, he pays for it, period. If he didn't do it, and find the person who did, or the people that were involved who did. Justice for Cash Gernon. Summer Wells is who we're here to talk about tonight and discuss our case. Beautiful 5-year-old Summer Wells, missing now for 58 days, closing 2 months in 2 days. We need to find her. We need to find her now. If this is not a rescue, which obviously more and more the weeks go by, each day that goes by looks more like a recovery of Summer Wells rather than a rescue. But my hopes and prayers are for still a rescue. And whatever the case, Tennessee Bureau of Investigations, the Sheriff's Department, they got this information close to the chest, and they'll come out soon. I think they're coming closer and closer to what they need to get in order to get what they got. Justice for Summer Wells. Kenneka Jenkins, much love goes out to her and her family. That case is still open and still being discussed today on a few content creator channels. One is Hell of a Chick. If you're not subscribed to her, please do. She's covering that case now. She's doing a recap and a reinvestigation of the information based on this case. I send out much love to her for sticking it out, going on 4 years now. Matter of fact, next month the 9th, will be an anniversary date for Kenneka Jenkins. Justice for Kenneka Jenkins. James Riker Beal is an open case. We're going to be working on that fairly shortly. Justice for James. Amari Nicholson. Justice for Amari. Little boy who lost his life in Las Vegas because the boyfriend did something stupid and wanted to tell us that someone in the family from the ex-boyfriend took the kid, and I have no idea who it was. That story didn't stick, but they got him, no. They got him. He'll pay for it. Justice for Amari. Xavier Harrelson out of Iowa. 11-year-old went missing. Case is still open, and folks are still searching out there. His kids are going missing in broad daylight. If you notice, there is a pattern. We talked about that pattern before in our last live. Kendrick Johnson's case, open and still being pursued to get justice for Kendrick. That's a case I'm looking forward to working on, but you can only handle but so many cases at a time because you have to give your undivided focus and attention to detail when covering these cases. But tonight, justice for Kendrick Johnson and his family. Tonight, we're back on the Summer Wells case, 5-year-old that went missing off of her residence with family members there. Family members on the premises. How does that happen? Did she go walking off that property beyond the line of sight? It is possible, but not likely, but possible. Here, we have to take a look at details. And when we talked to you about the details in our last live, we talked to you about certain places, certain facts, certain items of interest that has fallen into this case. Chris McDonough has done an absolutely magnificent job in bringing us up close and direct from the horse's mouth information. No speculation, no hearsay, no hypotheticals. He brings it to you directly from the people that were involved. And he got it from Hunter. He got it from Candace. He got it from Donald. He got it from Allison. He's still getting it with a team of specialists. On his last show, he had the forensic statement analyst. I think his name was Steve Johnson. Did an excellent analysis of that phone conversation that Chris had with Donald pertaining to his whereabouts and what he did that day from the time he got up until the time he got home. I went back over his information. I saw some things that I wanted to bring to light. That's what I'm going to do tonight. Because if anything happens now, it'll be happening with even more fine-tuned information, because we've already obliterated the stranger abduction theory. So that's being swept off the table. Now we can take a closer look at whether Summer Wells walked off by herself, whether there was an abduction by perhaps maybe a family member or someone who may be a friend of the family, someone who knew that terrain, the property, the time they were home, the time they weren't. Someone had a timetable. Someone had a schedule. Someone had an agenda. We're going to be taking a look at that aspect tonight, and whether or not there may have been an accident. That is also on the table. And so doing that, let us begin. This is where I began. The ride to the store, the ride to pick up Hunter, let me back up. The ride to drop off Mom to the hospital, the ride to pick up Hunter, the ride to deliver the prescription order, the ride to the tobacco shop, CBD shop, the hippie shop, all these different places that were part of the day. Candace was the driver. Summer Wells was with her. Grandma was with them, part of the trip. Hunter was with them. And it was something in looking at this and playing Chris's interviews is what I did. I looked at this overhead shot of the property while I listened to the interviews. And it began to crystallize information of that day, June 15th, from 7 a.m. till the time Donald woke up with Summer's foot underneath him, or feet underneath him, as he stated in the phone conversation with Chris, until the time he left. Whether he stopped any place for breakfast, he didn't know what time that might have been on his way to work. But one thing for sure that we have to really consider, if you're going to work and it's a full-time job or even a part-time job, you know what time you're going to show up, right? I need to be at work at 9. Contractors, as Chris pointed out, generally work from 7 to 3. Some of them 8 to 4. The late shift, 9 to 5. The real late shift, if it's a big job, 10 to 6, when the sun, or just before the sun goes down. But here we have an early morning rise for one of the family members, Donald, who happened to have left for work that day. And his place of work that day was Jonesboro, 45 minutes away from their residence. And I said to myself, okay, let me listen carefully to what his day was like. And he pretty much didn't really cover what his day was like, and not to what I expected. From the time he left this resident, going down the driveway, what route did he take to go to work? Did he actually stop for breakfast? What did he have for breakfast? Is it a regular breakfast location? Because most of the time, if you're on the job and this job is going to take some time, you would pick a regular spot in Jonesboro or even here near the residence to go to breakfast, but not having any idea of what time you officially got to work. It makes you think, it makes you wonder. Open timeline right there. Chris tried to nail that down, but he didn't push it. I'm glad he didn't, because he was able to ascertain more information than meets the eye. It just was phenomenal the way he carried that conversation with him. But he tried to take us through his day. He tried to tell us some of the people that he were around that day. He didn't take his truck, but he took his red Subaru to work. Is that normal for him to do when he's used to taking his truck with his tools? If you're doing drywall, as messy as that can be, as Mr. Johnson had pointed out, yeah, well, why mess up a new car with all that stuff? So that seemed unnatural to me. Not a natural day indeed. That rang out to me. He made sure that other folks on the job noticed him, or he had conversations with them. 30 minutes with his boss talking about the Subaru that he brought to work, and his boss wasn't too happy with it, but yet he brought it anyway. Makes you think, makes you wonder. He makes a phone call to Candace. A special phone call during the time that they were at Walgreens, putting in the prescription. And something just jumped right out into my head, and I said, uh-oh, we got a major red flag here. Major. You know what that red flag was? And this is where we're going to begin tonight. Let me get to it. I looked at that trip to Jonesboro. The shortest route that you can take is right before your very eyes. From the resident in blue all the way to Jonesboro. No specific address, just the place itself. And if you was to take a regular route, it would take you, at least by car, 21.7 miles at best, maybe a little bit more, about 36 minutes, give or take. A traditional 45 minutes if you took the long way. But looking at the map, this is pretty much the direct route that you would take from the residence directly to Jonesboro, and from Jonesboro directly back to the resident. And in looking at that, we had to also look at the statement. Now, hopefully everything is queued up and we can keep moving. I want you to pay attention to this piece once again before I get to the second piece, and the reason why I brought up that map. Because we're going to be taking a look at something very critical here. In fact, critical enough to be the point of the matter in tonight's live. The last time we were together, we took this road, which is Beach Creek Road, past Ben Hill Road to the left where the police car is. On that day, the reporter did a little bit of a drive-through of the property. Let's take a look once again carefully. Tonight, I want your eyes open. I want your ears open. I want you to really focus on every piece of information I'm going to cover with you here tonight. And you'll see why I went live. So to begin, to refresh ourselves, let's take a look at that news reporter once again. And I'm gonna stop it. I'm not gonna play all of it because we already did that. If you want to see it all, go back to the last live in the beginning. I'm just gonna play you a portion of it because I want you to see something. Let's begin. This is Beach Creek Road intersecting with Ben Hill Road going to the house. There's a sign here that says dead end. We know that. We've covered that information. Many content creators have covered that information. Well, let's take a look on where the reporter actually started his investigation and showed us this piece of information.
Jeff Bobo with King's News, and I'm at the staging grounds for the rescue effort for 5-year-old Summer Wells. This is the Mount Carmel Free Will Baptist Church, and just for the record, I'm in my car, but I've got my tripod, so I'm not breaking the law. I'm not breaking the hands-free law. But I just wanted to give you an idea of the territory, the grounds that they're covering here. This is the command center, where they've been since Tuesday evening. And so from there, this is Beach Creek Road. This is basically the end of Beach Creek Road on the way to Sullivan County line. And I'm going to give you an idea of the terrain, the territory, the distance that we're talking about. The command post at the Mount Carmel Free Will Baptist Church on Beach Creek Road, that's where we just pulled out of. Now we're going about 45 miles an hour. And
I want you to pay attention once again to the terrain and the road, but I also want you to pay attention to how quickly he arrives at the property from coming from the church.
You'll see what the terrain looks like and how far it is to the Ben Hill Road area where Summer Wells was missing and where the rescue efforts are taking place. They had to make their command post at that church because there was enough flat ground and room for them to have all the rescuers come and park their vehicles. And they've been busing, for the most part, rescuers up here to Ben Hill Road, which we're approaching. As you can see, there's a lot of vacant ground, hayfield. There's not very many residences here. Very sparsely populated part of the county. I just came from the press conference, which is at another church, which is in Sullivan County, just over the Sullivan County line, at a church which is at the very dead end of Beach Creek Road. And we can continue on there and just give you an idea of what's going on. That's where the media.
Here we come to the break in the road. And obviously over to our right, we've spoken about it in our last live, to our right is part of the property line. Over to the left is, I believe, Singleton Road that breaks off to the west, or actually to the left, that goes on further down away from Beach Creek Road, where there are other properties. But let us continue, because now he's arriving at Ben Hill Road.
He has been staged. So they've got the media at the end of Beach Creek Road. Here we come. We're approaching Ben Hill Road. See the sign there, and you can see over this mound here. This is the
boom. Now notice in the timeline, we went directly from the church, and now we've made contact with Ben Hill Road. It just seems like it only took him at 45 miles an hour just a few minutes, give or take. That's how close they stationed all of the emergency vehicles and the police and TBI and the FBI. They made a command center not far from Ben Hill Road, from the resident. Now, if you've seen all of those cars parked all over the lawn at the church, could you imagine all of those same vehicles being gunny sacked or nuzzled up into this area? It would be impossible. But yet that's what we were told. Vehicles were all over the place. In fact, created a bottleneck. Someone couldn't leave the property that day. But we saw the command center. It's at the church. We just arrived here at Ben Hill Road, off of Beach Creek Road. And it only appeared to have taken us perhaps 3-4 minutes tops, going at regular street speed. I wanted you to see that. Now, I said, okay. Then the question popped in my mind. I said, this thing has been bothering me for a long time. And I said, I don't understand why it came out, but it did. And it came out in Chris's interview with Hunter. And it was one of the most important yet startling pieces of information that has not been talked about, only to Chris though, but has not yet been thoroughly investigated or talked about. Tonight, we're going to talk about it. I'm going to see where I put it. Here's where the story really got interesting for me. And we go back to Chris's interview. And thank you once again, Chris McDonough, and to your wife for recording this. Thank you for also allowing me to share this once again on my platform. The links are in the description box to give Chris the full credit of this interview. I have not altered any part of this video in any way, shape, or form. His logo is at the lower right-hand corner. And when I got to 11 minutes and 42 seconds into this interview, I said, this is where my heart began to beat in this case. I want you to take a careful listen to this part of the interview, and then you'll understand and you'll see why I'm going where I'm going tonight. There's a critical piece of information that Hunter gave to Chris that he mentioned in regards to the timeline. He said something. They were discussing how he got picked up by Candace. What time did he think that they left? And obviously Hunter, to preface his interview, he wasn't good with time, remember? However, Chris was able to elicit some kind of a timeline from him and follow Hunter's story as he went. But this is what jumped out at me during his interview. Pay careful attention because it's a very short piece in the conversation. And it deals with the phone call that allegedly Candace received while they were at Walgreens putting in the prescription before they went to the swimming hole.
And then while we were in the drive-thru, her husband calls her talking about this dude named on the property that's been there for like a week or so, she told me, that keeps stalking the little kids.
Who's that?
Some dude named like I have no idea who it was.
Okay. And why did Don call?
I have no idea. He just called. I don't even know if he was working at the time.
Okay.
But if he was working, he obviously wouldn't know that. That some dude looking at the little kids.
This dude named Don calls Candace.
Tells her about, I don't know if his name was.
And tell me about that conversation.
All I heard was.
And how did you hear it?
I heard because I asked her why he called.
Okay.
The only thing that she told me from the phone call is that there was some dude, whatever it was, just the name.
Okay.
That's all I remember. Is that.
Okay, forgive me for the ad, folks. I got to pause it here. I love YouTube and its monetary policies when it comes to ads and whatnot. I try to skip these things. Let me go back right here so we can begin. I saw that I had the volume down, so I'm going to go back over that part so everyone can hear once again what Hunter told Chris. Hopefully that ad won't pop up again. I see it's got 5 seconds over here. Oh, they're going to play with me tonight.
I don't even know if he was working at the time.
Okay.
But if he was working, he obviously wouldn't know that.
Well, we're just going to skip over the ad.
So you've got your own business and you're doing everything you can to promote it. It doesn't have to be so.
Okay, we'll let the ad play out. Come back. Go back to the interview.
There was some dude looking at the little kids.
This dude named Don calls Candace.
And tells her about, I don't know if his name was.
And tell me about that conversation.
All I heard was.
And how did you hear it?
I heard because I asked her why he called.
Okay.
The only thing that she told me from the phone call is that there was some dude, whatever it was, just the name.
Okay.
That's all I remember. Is that he's been up on the property for a week or two, trying to, like, I guess she said, touch the little kids.
He's been on the property for a week or two. Did everyone hear that? Type of 1 for yes, 2 for no. He's been on the property for at least a week or two. Okay. Okay, very good. Let's continue. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Well over 400 and nearly 50 people up in tonight's chat. Thank you so much, everyone. We're getting there now. Candace tells Hunter, because Hunter asked who was that on the phone, and it was Donald. And Candace tells him that Donald told her about someone who's been on the property for a week or two that's been touching little kids. That was the strangest part of this interview of their day out to go to the swimming hole. And I'm sure many people would agree, but let's continue.
That's what I was told.
He's trying to have what?
Touch the little kids.
Touch the kids?
Like give them a hug or something. I don't know.
What do you think? Do you think that's true?
I mean, it could be because she's had this, name was Billy, right? Yes, Billy. Billy was up there doing that stuff until we got arrested.
Billy was doing that stuff up there, and then he got arrested. Folks, what does that begin to tell you? Do you see why in our last live I obliterated the stranger abduction theory? Do you now see why I did that? Because now it puts someone who's been on that property up there for a week or two, according to Hunter. Oh, well, Hunter doesn't know what he's talking about. If he didn't know what he's talking about, why would he tell Chris this answer? Why would he tell Chris when Candace got that phone call? I asked her who it was, and she told me this. And here's what I was told, Chris. If the kid was making up a story, why would he do that? That's the part that didn't make sense to me. But what does make sense to me is his direct answer as to the reason and what Candace told him after he inquired from Candace, who was that on the phone? And this is during the trip. And this was absolutely incredible to find out that someone prior to their trip out that day, that's why I say you have to go backwards in a timeline too, was there on the property for at least a week or two. Let's continue.
And Billy is the brother,
No.
the son.
Nope.
No.
Billy was an old drunk.
An
He's
old
what?
drunk.
He was an old drunk that was a friend of theirs that used to get in arguments with his wife.
And go
His
up to
wife
their
would
house.
take him out, and he would go up there and sleep in one of the sheds on the property.
Got it. And who was Billy trying to touch?
Well, Billy had the hots for grandma.
The grandma.
Got it. But what about the kids?
Oh no, he wasn't around the little kids. His mom wouldn't allow that with their mom.
So why would, in your opinion, call Candace while you're in the line at Walgreens to say there's some dude on the property wanting to touch the kids? Help me understand that.
I mean, at first I thought because he calls her like every 2 hours because he works.
Okay.
I thought he was just doing his daily checkup.
Okay.
But then she told me about that. I was like, how does he even know that if he's supposedly working?
And what did she say?
I didn't say that. I was just saying in my mind.
And in your mind, what did you come to? What did you deduct?
Deduct. I thought that was just suspicious.
Really?
Yeah, and then later she called me and told me that happened. I was with my girl at the time, just hanging over in Bristol at a park.
Okay.
She calls me while we pull up to that park. This is that Summer's missing.
So who were you kicking it with at the park?
Oh, just my girl.
Okay, just
and her
you guys.
mom and her brothers and her sister.
Okay, straight up.
That was just it with our entire family. Because weren't you at the ball field? Yep, she was at the ball field.
Okay, so before we get there, let's go back to the drive-through at
Drive-thru.
Walgreens. Then what happened?
Then we went, well, she had to go get cigarettes. Mom complains of cigarettes.
Where'd you get?
Okay. And Chris moves on. He brings him back to get back on track to begin creating the rest of the timeline. However, folks, this puts someone on the property, doesn't it? Other than the family members, doesn't it? In your mind, yes or no? Does it put someone else on the property? Type a 1 for yes, 2 for no. We're going to address this, folks. That's where I'm going tonight. This is the heartbeat of the case right here. It eliminates the stranger abduction. These folks have people on their property. It's been there for a week or two. Automatically says to me that something doesn't look right from this statement. That's what Hunter told Chris, and I'm sure that Chris is working that information to this second. And I'm sure that TBI and the sheriff's office is working this information this very second, because it puts people outside the family on the property that day. Let's see what Candace has to say about this. Here's Chris here at the swimming hole, interviewing Candace, walking her through that day as well. Once again, much love and respect and props goes to Chris and his wife for recording this, because this is what I picked up from this interview in regards to how Candace responded to what Hunter said. Let's listen. Let me make sure I have the volume up, because we begin to see some very interesting things here.
Okay.
And she
Front door, back door?
No, it's, well, I don't know if you want to call it the front door or back door, because I don't really consist which way.
Which door is it? Yeah. In some of the pictures I see, there's a door around the bottom and the back.
Not the basement door. I call it the kitchen door, is what I call it.
Okay.
And she walked in there, and there's a scaffolding that we have for steps. The yellow and black scaffolding we have for steps. Okay. And I put my hand on the scaffolding. I said, boys, watch something, I'll be right back. And I had to go over and help Mom. She was still sitting over there. And I had to go and get her knee brace and fix it for her because it was twisted and crap.
Okay.
It took me like 5 minutes, maybe 2 minutes. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not a time person. I never have been.
Okay.
And next thing I know, I said, Mom, I'm going back over with the kids, chill and hang out, whatever. And I freaking asked her brothers, well, where'd your sister go? She was just right here with you. But she wanted to go play with her toys downstairs, Mom. I said, I think not. That's where our room is. That's where her toys are.
Okay.
Candace does not specify which of the boys told her that Summer's downstairs playing with her toys. You don't hear it from Candace that way. What you do hear Candace saying is that she's including all of the boys, meaning to say all 3 of the boys answered her and told Mom that Summer was downstairs in the basement playing with her toys. And Chris is looking directly at her. Look at the line of sight between Chris and Candace. Look at Chris. Look at Candace. You'll notice also body language and the direction she's answering Chris. She's not looking directly at Chris answering his questions. She's looking away from Chris. She's trying to remember a lot of different things. But Chris keeps her on point. She breaks eye contact with Chris, and this is where Chris picks up his messages. Thank you so much, Chris.
And after about a second, I didn't hear nothing down there. I was like, you sure she went downstairs? They're like, yeah, Mom, she went downstairs.
Okay.
And my boys do not lie to me. So I went around because my stairs, my husband calls it a bar, but it's not really a bar. I call it a mess.
She tells this story looking away from Chris once again. She feels much more comfortable that she doesn't keep eye contact with him.
Put over the staircase. It's I guess you could call it a bar, but it's not really a bar because we don't think that much. So, but it was like where we put our TV stand, stuff like that. And I walked around because that's where the steps are hidden up underneath there. And I said, Summer. And she didn't answer me. I said, Summer, are you down there? And she didn't answer me. So I ran down the stairs pretty much. I was freaking out. I was like, why is she not answering me? And I looked, I just went, I blew up. I went everywhere looking for her. Couldn't find her nowhere.
Okay. And then what happened?
She was just gone.
Okay.
She was just gone into nowhere. And I started tracing the property, going everywhere I could. I sent my boys down through well, we live on a hill, so it was down by the creek. I sent them all down through there looking and everything. They still didn't find her, and they said no. So I ran over and I freaked out. I called Donnie because that's what I do automatically. I freak out, you know.
You called Donnie.
I called Donnie. I said I cannot find Summer. Come home now. He's like, call the cops. So I threw my phone down on the back of his pickup, ran over to my mom, picked up her phone because the only one that gets out there is AT&T.
Okay.
So I picked up her phone, I dialed her. I said I cannot find my daughter. And they sent people out, and I wasn't just going to stand there and wait for them to send people out.
Right.
I jumped in my mom's truck and I went down the driveway as fast as I could. I went every road which way. I didn't see no cars. I didn't see nobody at all. And I was like flipping out. I was a hot mess, so you call it. It makes no sense.
Okay. This is her story to Chris. Now, Chris notices a lot of things going on with Candace at this point, and he's gearing up to ask Candace a very important question. He's got Candace giving him all the information as to what she did when she noticed that Summer was gone, and those are her exact words. She was just gone. She was just gone. Poof, into thin air. Now, Chris didn't press it to say, well, when you say gone, what do you mean by gone? Do you mean you didn't see her in the basement? Or did you mean something else when you say gone? He didn't press it. He just allowed her to continue to unravel or reveal what she did. So Chris is now ready to ask her the question that links back to Hunter.
The only thing that can come to my mind is that somebody snuck up there in that yard and took my baby girl.
What are the odds of that?
What are the odds of that?
From your perspective?
It happens all the time, all the way around the world.
I'm not questioning that it happens. I'm just asking you from your perspective, in your property, living up there as long as you have, Candace, right? What are the odds that happened? Take a guess.
50-50.
Okay. What would be the 50% that didn't happen? What are the other possibilities?
I have no idea.
Okay. Could she have walked away and fallen?
Knowing my daughter?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Okay.
So the walk away is not possible according to Candace. She tells Chris this piece of information. No way in the world that she would walk off that property. So now we get to the process of elimination. Okay, taking that off the table. What are the other possibilities? And Chris begins to dig a little further. This is what he finds.
What's in your heart today in terms of what gives you hope and what do you hold on to? I mean, you've been around the block a couple of weekends, okay? I mean, so have I. And I think what you're telling me here, I have no reason to disagree with you. You know what I mean? I mean, there's going to be a lot of he said, she said, and you know, and I know, no matter what, okay? No matter what,
In my heart, I believe, now this is just the way I feel.
I respect that. Totally respect that.
I feel that somebody has got her hid out somewhere.
Okay.
And is keeping her away from us.
Help me understand why that's in your heart.
Okay, first off, I didn't know how many sex offenders lived around me that were only 8 minutes from my property.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Right.
And another, my daughter never goes out into the woods because we've taught her there's dangerous snakes, there's bears, there's pack of dogs, there's coyotes, there's everything magical out there in the woods that could hurt you.
Okay.
I've even taught my boys that.
Okay.
And I have never stressed that enough. I tell her that every day.
Right.
And she would never ever go anywhere than that swing that's on that tree.
Okay. Yeah, tell me about that swing. Is that her favorite? I love those videos you put up showing her just having an absolute blast.
Okay, now Chris did some editing here, but it doesn't escape his main question. This is a direct interview with Candace. And so any alteration that he felt in regards to information that Candace gave him specifically and somewhat confidentially, Chris has edited out because there is an ongoing investigation. However, Candace does answer the question as to what Hunter said. Let's get to it.
You know, what about this call allegedly that Hunter says came in? Well, he said there was a call that Dawn made to you while you were in line at the prescription. Did that happen?
He called me and asked how everything was going.
Okay.
And how soon we were going to be home.
Okay. Hunter relates that he mentioned to you that Dawn had said something about somebody around the property. Is that true?
That is so.
Okay.
Sorry to say, but that's a bunch of bullshit.
Okay. All right. Okay. And so where?
Okay. That's her answer. That is her answer. She flatly denies anybody else being on the property. So now you have to ask yourself, why did Hunter say that then when you got the call from Dawn? Why would a 15-year-old just out of the blue make up that kind of an answer to tell Chris if it didn't have any truth or validity to it? And now you hear that same question being asked of Candace. Is there somebody else on the property? You know, and she turns around right in his face, flatly denies it, calls it what you heard, BS. In other words, he's lying. He's making up stories. That's called a defensive mode, isn't it? She got very defensive. Let's continue.
Where is?
I don't mean to get upset, but when something
you're
like that,
here's the good news. Okay, this is your daughter.
I know where my husband was.
Okay, but you have every reason. Don't apologize.
No, I'm just.
Okay, don't
it makes
apologize.
Me so mad that
I mean, the fact that you're wearing mom patrol.
That somebody could stand there and lie.
People lie.
Law enforcement to everybody. It makes so mad that it just makes my blood boil.
Right. So she disappears.
She tells Chris boldly, it makes her so mad that people lie. So she's flat out denying anybody else being on that property. But here you have Hunter calling out names. Names of people that were on that property. You see where I'm going with this, folks? And this is where Chris is going with it too, because this is a red flag. This is on the board, so to speak. Somebody was on that property. Could be one, could be more than one. But somebody was on that property. And in this case, by Hunter mentioning another name that did slip through, this Billy person puts another person on the property as well. So we've got a flat out denial here from Candace. Flat out denial. Don't we?
I don't know what else to say.
What are the possibilities in your mind? I know what your heart's saying. Your heart's saying she's with somebody right now. How would we know how to connect that dot, you and me?
Well, like, for instance, that Dobbs guy that was supposed to be camping across at my neighbor's house.
Right.
He was there that same time. And then Hammonds, whoever the hell he is, he was down through there.
Who was there when you got home?
There was nobody there. There was my mom mentioned the blue van across at my neighbor's house, but I just figured she had company.
Okay.
I didn't know about that was the guy that was trying to move in there. I didn't know that at the time.
Okay.
And so I didn't think nothing. I just figured it was neighbors had visitors.
Okay.
You know, I didn't think nothing about that. I gotta stop. I can't do no more.
If you hear Candace, she is really trying to figure out and trying to reach for something. Talking to Chris, she's talking now about the neighbors having companies. Blue van was around. She didn't really think about anything, like it was anything, important, but she's just tailing it out. She's doling it out to him, though. Nobody was home when they got there. However, she did notice something else, you see. So there is somewhat of a deflection here in the statement. She flatly, plain as day, denied anybody being on the property previous to this, okay? Based on Hunter's statement, he's a liar, you see. And so Candace now defensively calls him out. Okay, so we have Candace and Hunter in opposition in terms of their story. Who do you believe? Who do you believe? Let's go to our next piece because I'm linking this all together. This is at the swimming hole. Here's where I'm starting with this. Chris goes to the resident, as we saw him do. He interviews Candace all around the resident. And he did a masterful job in recording everything that he was able to capture that afternoon after the swimming hole to go here and see for himself. I believe that Candace was reluctant at first to some degree to allow Chris on the property. But Chris, working his rapport magic, kept it in place, made his trip very fruitful indeed, to find out a whole lot more as to the structure, the terrain, summer swing, grandma's camper, location of the house, the dogs that were there that day. And so we're going to begin from this point, which I call the line of sight, the abduction theory. Here's the heartbeat of tonight's live. We have right now, according to Hunter's statement, and I'm sure that the investigation has so as well, they have information to believe that somebody else was on this property outside of the immediate family. No doubt, the stranger abduction does not work. However, an abduction just by itself is not only possible, but most probable only because of the line of sight that we talked about in parts 1 and 2. Okay, so here, let us go back to good old Candace, taking us out this door, listening to what she says, because she tells him, and watch how she opens the door, that she cannot recall whether the door was locked or not. Watch this carefully.
Look, I'm outside there in Santa Mark, and I don't recall if this was locked or not. I don't recall that.
Okay.
But I know it's hard on me. But I know I did come out here in the summer, because sometimes she'll sit right here.
Let me cue that up once again.
Yeah, yeah.
I looked under there, looked under every blanket I could possibly look under.
Yep.
And then I come over here, and I look, I'm outside there in Santa Mark, and I don't recall if this was locked or not. I don't recall that.
Okay.
But I know, it's hard on me. But I know I did come out here and I said summer, because sometimes she'll sit right here and just sit here and play, just for,
Sometimes she'll sit right here. Indicates that Summer knows how to open that door. She'll sit right here. And then we have Chris stepping out now, giving us a line of sight view as to what Summer would see if she did go through that door. And obviously,
and usually when she comes out and she goes directly that way up to the swing.
Oh, okay, so this is like her.
And she
Would
just
she
walks-
come running out?
Yep.
usually when she comes out this way, she goes directly to her swing. In other words, Summer's got mental borders, so to speak, boundaries, where she can go, where she can't go. I'm not going to doubt that at all. We cannot doubt that. If they told her, like Candace told us, I keep telling her every day, because there's lions and tigers and bears and snakes and oh my, all that stuff out there that could possibly do her harm. So only go to a certain area where I can see you. And that would make sense if they repetitively told her that, as well as the boys, every day.
Oh yeah, you can see the path
Just go
here.
right to the swing.
Right, you can see where she could have run right up to
and
here.
this is all the further she would go. She wouldn't leave.
Okay.
She wouldn't go nowhere else.
Okay. I want to go around this side. What is this blue thing here?
Oh, that was we were putting trash in it,
Okay.
and we did have a trash man at the time, but he stopped running.
Oh wow.
I gotta wash this.
Okay. I'm gonna film around this side. Now walk me through what's this little
Oh, that right there?
little cave thing there.
That's not really a cave. Actually, we built this addition, me and Donnie and the kids,
Oh, okay.
and we left this part open because the dog at the time we did have little puppies. These dogs were little puppies,
Uh-huh.
and we let them go under there. They would run in and out of the bricks over there. There's actually 7 pups up under there now,
Okay.
and it's always been open like that.
Okay. So once again, we get to see how easy it was for Candace to open up that door, how she admits to us how easy it is to open up that door. She also admits that she cannot recall whether the door was locked or not. Okay. In our last live, we actually heard the fact that the door was unlocked at the time. Okay. All right. I wanted to cover that with you because we got a lot of unlocked places here. We got a phone call from Don to Candace, only stating to Chris during the interview that they were at Walgreens and nothing else. That was it. Being that Chris interviewed Candace first and Donald last, you know Donald avoided that phone call that he made to Candace that was overheard by Hunter, and not only overheard by Hunter, but stated to Hunter by Candace that there was somebody on the property touching little kids. Keep that in your mind, folks, because it does put other people on the property. That just did not get blurted out for nothing. All goes to timeline. Now here, Chris, all goes to timeline. Here, Chris is having his conversation with Donald in regards to that timeline. And a portion of that day when he woke up that morning. And this was, incredible to listen to, because now you can hear what Donald skips over and what he doesn't. Let's take a listen, because we're getting to our point.
Yeah, for you, okay. Jamie, he's another finisher that was working out here.
Got it.
So
you leave the house. What car do you take that day? I forget.
I had the Subaru that day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why didn't you take your truck that day? People are going to ask.
Well, because the car was just sitting there, and I'm paying these payments, $600 a month plus the insurance, and it's just sitting there. And I thought, well, I may as well get some use out of it. And I threw all my tools in there and started driving it for a little while, just because,
Yeah. And so,
mainly product. Yeah. Go ahead.
So you take the truck, or the car. How far away is your job? What are you doing?
It is 45 minutes away in Jonesboro.
All right.
Yeah.
And then what time do you get there? Do you remember?
I don't. I probably went and had some breakfast, somewhere or whatever, and come out here. I don't remember for sure.
What time do you call Candace, if you remember? I'm just trying to figure out the timeline and the window.
I'm trying to think. I'd say, maybe 3 o'clock or something like that. But I don't know. I'm not sure of that at all.
And where was she when you called her? Do you know?
So I think she said she was either at Walgreens or headed to the lake, or I can't remember. But that's why I thought, well, I might as well just stay and work, because that's just what I do. But,
so when you got the call, what was the first thing that came to your mind?
Well, she called panicking. And I said, well, just in case, hang up and call 911. And, and I thought it was, for some reason, I thought it was 5:30. To be honest with you, I don't trust police. And we showed them all the information on our phones because they wanted to know. They wanted to know the timeline. So we showed them right then. When I got there, they wanted to know all that. And they wrote it all down.
And when you got there, do you remember what time you arrived?
I have no idea. I wasn't paying attention. I was on Messenger with Candace as she was driving her mother's truck around looking for her in the area.
Okay.
So I talked to her the whole way there, and it's really kind of weird that we was able to talk all the way there, because normally we don't have a connection like that.
Right.
As soon as it's kind of odd.
And what was she driving?
Her mother's truck.
That the Chevy, the Silverado?
Yeah.
And what was Grandma doing when you showed up?
I don't even know what she was doing. I think talking to the police and probably just down there looking or whatever. I don't know.
And what were the boys doing?
Looking for Summer. And once all the police started arriving.
You see how nice and tight Donald is keeping his timeline? I don't know. I'm not too sure. And it's almost listening to him try to explain how he responded to an emergency call from his wife, Candace, him being at work, as she can't find Summer, she's missing, get home now, and he tells her to call 911, this is his response. Because these are key questions to the timeline. But yet, Donald doesn't fill in the blanks. You don't know what time you got up. You don't know what time you got to work. You don't know what you had for breakfast. All you can remember is a 30-minute conversation with some of the people that you work with that day. Okay, so we got 30 minutes out the way. All right, we have got the rest of the day now. You woke up at 6:37. You said goodbye to Summer, who was still laying asleep on your side of the bed, so you covered her a little bit, and then you left. You went to work, and call it selective amnesia, if you will. And this indicates deception selectively in certain places based on certain questions that Chris asked Donald, important timeline questions. He selectively has amnesia. Can't recall, not sure. I don't know if I did that or not. Iffy, teetering, back and forth on the most critical questions of this case. And then he wonders why people are looking at him as a suspect. Hey, I left at 7 o'clock, arrived at 8:45, give or take. I had pancakes for breakfast. I got to my work site at a little after 9, could have been 9:10, 9:15. I started work. The boss came over at 10:30. I took lunch at 12, took an hour, 1 o'clock went back. I worked with Joe, Blow, Mo, Mary, Larry, Harry, Wee, and all the other guys that showed up at the work site. I called over at about 2 o'clock just to check on Candace to see how she was doing. You line it up, and then you know, that's a critical day. But he song and dances around the most critical pieces of information regarding his story. And you have to ask yourself, why is he doing that? Because as Chris mentioned on his live, recent live covering his statement with this forensic statement analyzer, you know, you can have a conversation with someone, and there are certain specific words that you can key into, words of emphasis, words that adjectives, words that describe certain things, nouns and pronouns that are used. And he did a great job breaking down this conversation. But my point to bringing him up is that, yeah, Chris says that Donald is adapting, and he is adapting. He must be staying up all night long, going from YouTube video after YouTube video, anything with Summer Wells on it, he's reviewing because he's got to change and adapt his story without looking suspicious. Sort of like subtle changes. I call it neo-cheating, if you will. These people are playing poker with the wrong people of the concerning the law. The law plays poker too. And they're watching this poker play. That's for lack of a better metaphor I can think of. But when you look at Candace, she's playing poker. When you definitely look at Donald, he's definitely playing poker. And he thinks he can play poker with Chris. But he doesn't know Chris. He doesn't know Chris's background. He doesn't know where Chris is from. He doesn't know his experience or anything. All he has to do, and all he has to remain doing, is stay away from Chris as best as you can. And if he asks you something about the time, go to selective amnesia on key questions. And this is what he's doing. But Chris is very smart because he counterplays him. Listen carefully.
You know, bottlenecked all the roads. You know, nobody could move. So there was instead of confusion and panic, I'd say, you know,
now,
cops in and out.
Was there a car at the bottom of your driveway when you pulled? Like a
No.
cop car or anybody? You pulled right
There
in?
was nobody there. I was the first one there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what about when you got there, what was your first impression of where you should search first?
Well, that's why I drove down to the bottom, because I didn't even go to the house. I went straight by that shed on the bottom.
Yeah, is that the one where off the bottom of your property to the
Yes,
left?
yes.
Okay.
And got that little dirt road. I went past that. I went straight down that hill, straight to the creek, and that's when I seen my boys. And then I seen my neighbor Don walking to the left side. The boys were on the other side of the hill, and I knew, like I say, I knew my heart just sank right there. I just knew she was gone.
And what brought you to that place first and not to the house?
Well, I figured they was looking all over the house, and I was thinking, well, I probably ain't been out buying property yet or anything, so that's what made me drive down there first.
Okay. And then, did you go into that shed?
No.
Is that
I did.
yours too, by the way, real fast?
Yeah, that's ours. What I did, I don't know if I checked it then or later, but I know I did go in there and look. But I'm not sure if it was right then, or I might have parked and walked in there and looked real quick. I just don't remember. But once I knew she was gone, I went to the top of the house, went up the driveway up there.
Well, so why wouldn't you have gone into the shed? I'm curious.
I may have. I just can't be sure on that.
Okay.
If I did, I went in there, but I'm not sure if I went in there right then or if I went in there at a later time. I'm not sure.
Okay. And then go ahead. I'm listening.
Well, once the police started arriving and everything, I was like, man, I'm going to go question all these damn drug dealers and everything like that. And, and they reluctantly said, go ahead. I says, I think y'all should put pressure on them and get a list of every person they know. And if it was me, I'd lock them up or whatever.
And this is where Donald begins to deflect away from the shed because it doesn't make sense. You get an emergency call from your wife. You get in your car. You throw your tools in the car, as you said you did. You come all the way from Jonesboro. A normal trip that would take 45 minutes. You break the sound barrier and get there in about 30 minutes or so, give or take. Must have been really no traffic, no trucks, no cops. He must have broke the speed limit. Okay. He gets to the house, and the very first place he goes to is the shed. Not up to the resident to check on the rest of his family, to make sure that everyone was accounted for. He goes down the hill, races down the hill in the red Subaru, and comes to this location here. And as you heard him tell Chris, I'm not sure if I checked it or not. I really can't be sure. What did you go down there for then? Why did you go down there as the first point of contact once you made it back home? Not concerned about Candace, not concerned about Grandma, not concerned about the boys. I want you to imagine that, coming up that hill and then possibly, see if I could show it to you. You know John Q. Here we go. You get to this location here, you come up the hill, you're back on your property residence. You got there before the police did. You don't know what time you got back there. So you're still messing with the timeline. Not sure. Something said it was 5:30. But according to the 911 call, it was 6:26. He definitely knew that specific time, 626, because most people would have rounded it off to 6:30, but 626. So he does remember there about the 911 call. He comes up here, and you mean to tell me that he took his Subaru, probably, this is just my assumption, took the opposite road. Now the circle drive is here. You come up to the house, just like Chris did, and park. Him coming back to the house, probably off of Ben Hill Road, which is hidden here in the trees, came up and cut to the left rather than cut to the right to enter like he would normally do. He cut to the left, got to this point where the first shed is, and then went down this hill. This open terrain here, low terrain at best, in a Subaru, and came to the shed from behind, because the creek is right over here to the right. Through the terrain to the back of the shed. And you mean to tell me after taking that drive in your brand new $600 a month Subaru, you didn't check the damn shed? I find that very hard to believe. You're not sure whether you checked it then or you may have come back to check it. Why would someone come back to check it if you're already there the first time to check it? You see the song and dance Donald is playing? Very suspicious activities. And I'm sure that the people at the BAU find it suspicious as well. But we also have to remember now and back up. Hunter talked about somebody being on the property for about a week or two, which says to me that someone is familiar with this property. And when Billy Bob was there, Billy Boy, you know, the drunk that was after Grandma, where did he stay? He stayed in the shed, didn't he? You begin to connect the dots. We've got other people on the property, folks. Don and Candace have not been forthcoming. Candace is calling Hunter a liar, but yet what would be his gain to lie? I find that very suspicious. Her demeanor in its entirety throughout the whole interview that Chris did with her at the swimming hole and here at the house was just uncertain about anything, not certain about anything. Also can be used as a form of deception. And now you hear words coming right out of Donald's mouth as to how he got to the property, wasn't concerned about Candace or the family. He went straight to the shed. And I said in my last live, there must have been something in the shed more important than his family, making contact with his family first. You want to make sure everybody's okay, but he didn't do that. He committed himself already to going to the shed. We knew that Billy Boy was here. And when he stayed here on the property before he got arrested, this is where he was. This shed plays a very important part, and I'm going to tell you why. Connecting the dots. I hope I'm helping. That's all my intent is and the purposes of tonight's live. This is critically important. Let's see what else Don has to say.
And then start asking questions, but it's not up to me. But
yeah, why would you do that? Why from your perspective?
Because okay, Ben Hill Road. If you I don't want to get him in trouble or nothing, but he everybody goes back there looking for pills, meth, whatever it is they're looking for. And we see all kinds driving back there. We even see a car just barrel on 2 cylinder, just everything they got. They're asking if he's got a pill or whatever, you know. It's crazy. I mean, we've had, and also we've might have caught people parking our trucks, you know, either early in the morning, late on, or many times over.
So basically, that's a drug corridor. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so people go up there to cop dope.
Yes, or they, you know, and then there's the other places. I don't know where they're all at, but they, you know, they all intermingle. Kind of, I guess. But
well, yeah. There's you know, there's a lot of dynamics always, right? There's a lot of moving parts. So back to Summer for a minute. So when you got to the house, and did you go into the house at any time?
Well, yeah, I went in the house, out of the house. It was everything, looking everywhere. You know, we didn't know what to do. And the one up and this and that.
And where did you? Sure.
The shed right there by the house, all the sheds, everything, you know, I look everywhere. Mostly I screamed at the top of my lungs.
Mostly screaming at the top of his lungs. Hey, Donald, when did you come in contact with Candace to see if she was okay when you arrived home? That would be my question. When did you check on Candace? Because it's a funny thing that I'm starting to realize here. Candace doesn't mention you when she's at the house, and you are not mentioning her when you're at the house. Why is that? Type of 1, if you just heard what I said. Why doesn't Candace mention what time Donald got to the house in her interview with Chris? Why doesn't she mention what time he got there? Or when she saw him physically? And vice versa. Why doesn't Donald give us that same information as to when he came in contact with Candace, when he got to the house? They're both excluding each other from their narratives, aren't they? Well, let me throw in another piece of dynamite to blow this up. They also said nothing about Hunter's allegation about the phone call. Donald doesn't bring it up to Chris. Candace doesn't bring it up to Chris. Only Hunter brings it up to Chris. You see the connection? And so this gives us an idea as to where this may be going and who's going to be held liable for their statements later on. And here you have Donald, I guess in a recent live he did with another channel holder, telling them that he wanted Dave Rader of EquiSearch, Midwest EquiSearch, to come back so that they can check his property when he was the one telling the police in the beginning that she ain't here. I tried to tell the police that she wasn't here, that somebody took her. So why would you want Dave Rader to come back and search your property again for, if you've already told the police that she wasn't there? You see the contradiction? Are you feeling me? Is this chat feeling me tonight? Yvonne, thank you for the thumbs up. Is this chat feeling John Q tonight in the dot connection? It's got to make sense, folks. Here, Don and Candace is working so hard to distort the timeline. And here you have folks like Chris and his wife and all of the law enforcement people working on this case, even to the second, trying to build and crystallize and hone in on the timeline. And this is all two loving parents who have their child out there missing somewhere, nearly almost 60 days now, 58 and counting. This is the way they're behaving, and this is how they are acting. This is what they are saying. Every time you hear Don speaks, he talks in some kind of finality. It's over. See her at the resurrection. Why? Out of all the cases that I've known that have been out there, I've never heard a parent talk about seeing their child at the resurrection. Have you? Who says that? Someone who wants this situation over with. The stress is too overwhelming, and it ought to be. You got now your 3 children taken away from you. That wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. The abduction theory stands, and stands boldly on the table tonight. Now we have to ask ourselves the other question. Was there an accident? Something happened. Did something happen this summer? With all this information now on the table tonight? Yes, something definitely did happen this summer. Most certainly. Where was the other one? I think something happened to Summer, and that thing that happened to her may have happened in and around this area here. It's Don's first choice. Candace said check the creek. She didn't say check the shed. She told the boys to check the creek. They did that. Candace doesn't tell us when she comes in contact with Don. Don doesn't tell us when he comes in contact with Candace. He comes in contact with the boys down here. There was a neighbor down here, and that's when he said, oh yeah, she's gone. Same thing Candace said when she went to the basement. She was just gone. Like she didn't know what to do or what to think. And here you have Don do something, and I think this was quite clever. It is or not. Do a video of the yellow generator that's on the property based on the abduction theory. This is the dog trail. Don did this video. He took us past this generator, showed us a footpath, not necessarily a dog trail, but a footpath, a clear one, all the way down to the road, as we described in our last live. That's how far it is. Thanks once again to Chasing Truth for providing this photograph, an aerial photograph from that location to Ben Hill Road, just before the entrance of the property. And tell us that that's where the dog trail ended. His dog trail or the police dog trail? And if it was a police dog trail, well, we can understand that. The abduction theory stands, and the stranger disappears. So this to be true, following Donald's narrative of this dog trail, what could he have possibly done? He possibly came back, figured out the dog trail, came back, if there was an accident, some kind of accident. When you think of accident, okay. When you think of accident, what must you do not to be exposed that it was your fault? What must you do to figure out how to cover this accident so it doesn't look like you did it? What do you do? What do you do? Because the accident theory says if the child was abused in any way, shape, or form, and something accidentally caused her death, and now in your mind, you can't explain how the accident happened or any reason why, now your mind is on fire because you've got 3 other kids. And you definitely don't want to lose them to the wrong information. So what do you begin to think of? What do you begin to think of? And it's only them on top of this hill with grandma, remember? What do you begin to think of? The impossible or the probable? I leave that to you and to law enforcement. They're going for the probable. They're looking at all the possibilities. Tonight is part of the possibilities, but they are looking for and getting ready to acquire, I believe, something that is far more probable than impossible. And it's all based on the interviews that were done, the actions that were revealed, the responses, and the timeline, all fitting neatly together and to begin to crystallize as to what actually happened to Summer Wells. If she was taken off the property, as I said before, under the accident theory, where would you take her? So she wouldn't be found immediately. Well, maybe Don told us. Maybe Don told us. Maybe Don told us. I'm not pointing the finger at Donald, but I'm just following his actions. His actions speaks louder than his words, obviously. Maybe he told us. Perhaps there was someone else on the property. Maybe Candace and Don knew that. Why would Hunter make up that story? Why would Candace tell Hunter that Donald told her that there was somebody up on the property touching little kids? Been there for at least a week or 2. But Candace mentions nothing about it. Donald mentions nothing about it. Candace calls Hunter a liar. Donald can't get his timeline straight. He doesn't meet Candace or the rest of his family when he arrives. He doesn't know what time he arrived. All he knows is that when he arrived, he went right here. He went right here, folks. Now, this is Beach Creek Road. Hang on to your hats. I got to prepare you for what I'm going to show you next. I started looking at this. I'm thinking about the accident, the abduction, and possible accident. I'm going to combine the two together. And now I need to do something. And I need to do a particular thing that's going to save my family from being exposed. I've got to do something to protect my other children. You're talking about self-preservation being one of the key motivations in our lives. Well, folks, this right here is one of them. Accidents do happen, like Chris told Donald. They do. No one's perfect. But can we kind of get some place to where, if it is an abduction, is it someone that the family knows? Yes or no? Or if an accident happened, could you just tell us what kind of an accident happened? We can understand. Did an accident happen? Yes or no? Why drag this on and out now? Because obviously your boys are gone now. You were doing all this to prevent that from happening, but it caused it to happen. So what do you have left to hang on to? What do you have left to really hang on to? And looking at this picture from a bird's eye view, as I did, and continuing to listen to Chris interview Donald in their conversation, I had to bring up something that I don't normally bring up, but it plays a very important factor in this case. And that's a person's faith. Only because it showed up. It is part of the case. And when I say faith, I have to bring up their faith in God. I'm going to ask you a question, and I need a straight, specific answer from you. What do people normally do when a person dies? What do people normally do when a person dies? Everyone gets notified in the family, yes. They start making phone calls to make arrangements for services, yes. Okay. You bury them. Who said that? You grieve, you cry, you pray, you mourn, you bury them, okay. You cry, you grieve, you mourn, send the body to the funeral, you cry and grieve, you mourn. Yes, all those things. But in this particular case, what is the outcome? What's the last thing you do after you do the crying and the grieving and the making the phone calls to the relatives, making preparations for the services? What is the last thing done? It's only one word. And it's already been mentioned in the chat. What's the one last thing you do? Terry says you bury them. Anna Marie says you bury them. Kathy says burial. Uh-oh. Yeah, you do say goodbye. You do have a funeral. But in most cases, people are usually cremated or buried. Just cutting to the chase. Either cremate or bury. One of the two is going to be the final service. Would you agree? After your cry and everything else that we talked about, would you agree that would be only two final options? Two final options with everything else listed above. Okay. Cremate or you bury. So if Summer's gone far away in someone's car, never to be seen again, as Donald talked to us about, he wants us to come to some kind of finality that we'll never see her again. That's my heart, and I miss her, and I know that he does. It's unfortunate that what happened on June 15th happened the way it did. It can never be taken back. We get that. But going forward, what is to be expected now? Well, in looking at this particular area, which it led me to, and we've all talked about the shed, information in this case does point us directly here. Information also points us to other people being on the property outside of the family. Something may have happened accidentally to cause everything else that happened to be revealed to us. So I said, okay, where would they do this possible cremation or burial? Where? Where could they do it? And I started looking at different things that did arise in my head as to what they could have done. We know that the trip from Jonesboro back to the house, we know Donald did that. How many times? Enough times to know what time he got home. And so I wanted to find out about cemeteries. I wanted to find out where in the area would be local cemeteries. Now, this is just me factoring in my observation and just something that just nudged me to look into this area. This is not in any way, shape, or form making a statement to say this is exactly what happened. I can't do that. And this is a possibility to look at. Because it's not too far from the resident, as you can see. In fact, it's about 2 to 4 minutes away from the resident location. And if you were to go from the shed back onto Beach Creek Road and head south, you would be there in about 2 to 4 minutes, depending on how fast you drive. 30 minutes if you walk. And I'm only bringing this particular thing up is because it was the first spot close to the house that says, okay, in the final stages of this case, where might they go to have farewell services? Well, this is what it looks like. when you look it up. This is Beach Creek Road, where we began tonight's live, coming opposite the house. And you know what? I went down just a little further, and I noticed something startling. It brings us back to the beginning of tonight's live where that reporter pulled off. It brings us right back here. And the coincidental thing about coming back here is that over to the right of it, in this area here, is a cemetery. Right next door. Right next door. So since we only have about a 3 hour to a 3.5, possibly 3:45, 4 hour open timeline with no explanation as to what happened, you have to factor in all of the different pieces and elements that could possibly play a very important part into what happened. And then we have to incorporate a timeline for it. I asked myself, from the shed or from the resident, 4 minutes away, could it have been possible for someone in a car to drive down here and possibly gave their farewell service in some way, shape, or form to Summer? And when I found that news clipping from that news reporter leaving this area and then finding this cemetery next to it, I said, I'll be damned. No one would ever think about looking here, would they? All of the search and police activity, canine and cadaver activity would be at the resident, wouldn't it? So if you knew there was some kind of finality that was involved here and you didn't have to go far, where would you go? Where would you go where people would look? Because that's what they were doing the first 13 days above ground, was looking all over the place. 3,000 to 5,000 acres were covered. Above ground, rough terrain, 11 acres. Who would think to perhaps look here? And I am in no way, shape, or form pointing a finger at this church or any thing regarding this church. I'm just saying that the cemetery is right next door to this church, the same place the police set up the command in the beginning. Sometimes when you're dealing with deception and devious people, they will think of everything under the sun to keep that deception more alive than the people that they harmed. Where was Elizabeth Smart in that case? Think about that. Think about what happened to Amari Nicholson in Las Vegas. How far from the apartment residence was his body found? and in the most unusual location. Malia Davis, in that case, what was done there? Well, her body was taken, put in a bag, possibly dismembered, taken over state county lines, and discarded on the side of the road, only for a lawnmower to go over it after there was a confession that that's where her body was. This is what people do when they don't want to be exposed. And so you have to think of every place that they would possibly think of to put something under people's noses that they would never look. This is just one possibility I wanted to bring here tonight. Just one. Were the cemeteries checked? Were the most recent burials from the 15th checked? I hope TBI did do that. I hope the FBI took some time out and considered any and all cemeteries to be checked in and around this particular area called the residence. From the shed area, the residence, in every direction in this area, along the major route called Beach Creek Road. I was looking at another possibility, and we're almost done. Going back down, something that I have not seen yet. This is how John Q thinks. If I was on an investigative team, I would look in every direction. And this came to mind. This particular location here, right across the street from the shed. You guys still with me? I didn't put you all to sleep, right? I hope I didn't put you all to sleep. Something easy, something quick. I like the way Angela from Everyday Shenanigans put it. If you're going to steal something, you want to get in and get out. You want to do it as quickly as possible. That way, it's less visibility. Low risk. Everything in the low risk dynamic that Chris talks about. It's in broad daylight, and you better do it now because once nightfall happens, these roads are black. And you won't be able to see anything but the front of your headlights. And maybe that was a possibility. But I figured if the 911 call went out at 6:30 and police didn't arrive until about 30 to 40 minutes, 45, give or take, it would give people enough time. 2.5 to 4 minutes south on Beach Creek Road, possible. And a full open 45 minutes to get to the house in terms of response. Where do these roads go? How far do they go? What's on these roads? These back roads. I just took this one just to show you. Never Never Land. How these roads are formed. How long they go. No houses. No utilities. No Wi-Fi. Just out here in no man's land. How far do these roads go? Where do they go to? Is it part of the property line? Could it be a part of the property line that we don't know about yet? You have to ask yourself these questions. Just to show you what that terrain looks like. How many homes in the, who's there? What do they have? Who could see what if they did see anything? All because something happened on June 15th that we're all interested in wanting to know what happened to Summer Wells. What we do know, what is a fact, is that she had parents who maybe have done some unusual things that day. I wonder what the boys may have told law enforcement about that day, how they saw it from their perspective. They weren't with Don at work like Hunter had assumed they were. They weren't with Candace because Hunter, Summer, and Grandma were together. So if they were left there at the house and the youngest is 12 getting ready to be 13, and in Candace's mind, we're not going to be gone that long. We're just going to make like 8 to 9 stops, give or take, and we'll be back shortly. Give or take 4.5, 5 hours for the full trip. She's got 3 boys sitting back at home on the internet with the dogs. And we have to keep the dogs in place because anybody that was here for a week or 2, the dogs would have gotten used to, may have gotten familiar with, scent and all. That includes Billy, who may have been living in the shed down below in the house to cover this terrain to get there. Dogs don't take that long to hold your scent and know whether that scent is a fight or flight scent, for lack of a better word. That's what they do. A fight or flight sense. If they fear no danger, guess what? They're good. If you got some food, even better. Perhaps that may be a part of the case that may be factored in later. Who knows? But what we do know is that that day's activity wasn't the everyday activity they had. Very unusual. And then the stories that came out of that day's activity told to Chris, very unusual. Especially the phone call that was made by Donald to Candace at Walgreens, overheard by Hunter, and for him to say what he said only puts a possible abduction accident theory flat on the table. And that it does destroy the stranger abduction because Chris handled that interview so well, he blew it off the table right before he was even done. That's the live I did last time with you. The line of sight theory, the blind spots, the perimeter and terrain all suggested that there was no stranger abduction. Risk factors too high. As Chris pointed out, no one person would even consider or think of taking that kind of a risk without knowing what is involved, having prior knowledge. some familiarity, whether it be the dopers on the block or whether it be Mr. Dobbs on the corner of Ben Hill and Beach Creek Road, who got questioned to death. Whether the house was turned upside down 6 to 7 times by the search party that was there on the 15th and 13 days thereafter, and so on. It's just to cover some additional possibilities, folks. That's why I came back on tonight. I wanted to crystallize at least those 3 areas, whether Summer walked off the property, not likely, based on the evidence, and I'm sure Chris would agree with that. The abduction theory itself, that has to remain on the table because it's the strongest. And then the accident theory. Could something have possibly happened that didn't want exposure to, that would jeopardize losing the rest of the children for? People have their ways and means in their own lives. And who knows, Donald Wells, Candace Bly, Grandma, all behaved in very unusual ways. And it just seems like there's a separation. I like to call it 6 degrees of separation between them, all 3 of them. That plays a very important factor in this case, especially Grandma's case, because she's missing a daughter 9 years ago, Candace's sister. So there's so many elements all wrapped up in this one case. And you got to keep every piece of those elements on the table and consider the facts about each and every single one of them. And that's what TBI is putting together. That's what the FBI is putting together. It's what the Sheriff's Department is putting together. Because when they do come back, and I believe they're going to be coming around the corner, there's plenty on the table to have possible arrests. Would you agree that now, today, this very second, not with my live included, amongst all the other lives that you may have been experienced to, for the whole month, going on 2 now, excuse me, for all the time that Summer was missing and what we know today, do you believe that they would have enough information to make arrest? Yes or no? Type of 1 for yes, 2 for no. We're getting some ones. And obviously, yes, this is your opinion, your perspective, your perception, and everyone definitely agrees. With us all collectively working on this case, I agree with the number 1. Boss Blake says number 2. He doesn't believe that there will be arrests. Dusty Blue, number 2. So we have maybe a couple of people that don't believe anybody will be held accountable for any of this that's on the table. And that's fine. That's fine. I'm going where the evidence leads. I'm trying to factor in all possibilities as best as I can on my case coverage, just like Chris is doing on his case coverage, Tiffany Marie on hers, AB on his, Angela from Everyday Shenanigans on hers, Queen True Crime on hers. We're all just making that contribution, because if they do need to look at anything, they're not going to look at our stuff. And for the Sheriff's Department to even have a fear that the speculation online may have some kind of interference in the case, it shouldn't at all. As long as you are doing the thorough job that you are assigned to do and working with your counterparts You're only going to consider the facts and the evidence that you guys collect. So you don't have to fear anybody on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or any social media platform, because what you're going to deliver to the DA's office is going to be the evidence that's going to, make it or break it. Not what's on the internet. I wouldn't worry about that, Sheriff. I think you're doing a fantastic job. Not even to be bothered by any one of us on the internet covering the story, because we're all entitled to our opinions. We're all entitled to speculate. None of us here are going to be making any arrests personally in this case, or any case for that matter. Only law enforcement is going to be the ones taking that responsibility. We just want to expose this story to a point to where they stay on top of it to make sure that they get that job done. That's all. That's all. So you won't hear, oh, it's because of John Q. No. Tiffany Marie, no. A.B., no. Boss Blake, no. Or anybody else. It's going to be them. And when that day comes, which I feel is going to be soon, whether it's going to include Summer Wells in its entirety based on the missing part, I hope they find her. I want them to find her. She needs to be found, because that way we will get the rest of the answers that we're all diligently waiting for to get. However, if she's not found, what will happen? I believe that there's still enough on the table to turn the story around anyway, and for them to take some kind of legal action in terms of arrests. They want to make sure, let me just put it metaphorically, they want to make sure that the Thanksgiving Day dinner is as big and is as wide with every possibility pertaining to concrete facts and evidence to nail who's responsible. And it only makes sense to. We have a 5-year-old out there that we're looking for, and who's looking for us if she is still alive. I pray dearly that she is, that somebody is just keeping her away from the family for some strange reason. Maybe that could play an important factor in this case as well. That's still on the table as well. Maybe there's something about the family that they just didn't like the way they were handling Summer. Maybe there was something about Summer's hygiene, her health, her weight, what she was eating. We know definitely she didn't have anything to eat on June 15th, but maybe a few Skittles, a piece of candy from Grandma, a slushie from Sonic's, pretty much a swim in the watering hole. And a nap in the car. Michael Vaughn, another missing child. I'm beginning to see some information on that as I cover this with you. I was looking for the other portion of this to share with you. All right, so beginning to wind down because I'm noticing my time. Do another 3-hour live. We covered line of sight, terrain, location, blind spots on the property, what creates a perfect abduction, not by a stranger because of the blind spots, the openness of the property, distance between resident locations of the grandmother and the family, possibilities of taking Summer off the property, understanding a specific location concerning a generator and a dog trail, and possibly even that occurring to get Summer off the property. Because you really didn't have to do too much to get her off the property. If she came out the door, following the narrative that Candace gave us, if she came out the door and someone by the generators, remember Candace is in the house asking the boys where Summer is, and she would have seen line of sight somebody there, someone she was familiar with and recognized, all they had to do was call her over, maybe enticing her with candy, since that's one of her favorites. And then from this location, taking her behind the foliage, and it's a drop down here. It's about a good 5 to 6 foot drop right behind the foliage where the said dog trail is, for her to just disappear out of sight. Candace could have opened up that door and seen absolutely nothing when she came outside and looked in the direction of her swing, if she did that at all. So seeing this for yourself, yeah, that would be a definite possibility there. Something to consider. Or even this way. Any which way you put it, folks, the key point is this basement door, in and around the way it's structured, and not knowing whether people locked it or not, leaves open the very strong possibility that someone took Summer off that property the way they did. And this is just one possibility of how they could do it without being detected, even by the dogs, because the dogs were familiar with someone that may have been there a week or two before. Quite simple. Could debt play a part in this particular scenario? Absolutely. Absolutely. Is it a part of it? I guess we'll find out. But absolutely. Don's video recording of the dog trail showing us his narrative he wanted us to see. You notice when Candace and Don came out, she didn't say anything about the dog trail, did she? She didn't say nothing. Chris said, "What's the blue thing over there?" What did Candace say? "Oh, we put garbage in that." "Oh, you got a generator over there? Is that a generator?" "Oh, yeah. That was there, but 14, 15 years, even before I got here. Remember?" But she said nothing about the dog trail. Why didn't Candace say anything about the dog trail like Don did? Don even went out of his way to show us what he was talking about. So my question was, why did he do that? Was it to redirect the narrative? Possibly. Neighbors down the road in the corridor? Possibly. The way to get there? I see in this picture that the boat is not up against the building. I wanted to show you that. I said, what happened to the boat? Where's the boat? So one moment is there and next moment it's not there. Well, what happened to the boat? Do you see that? Only when you're looking, folks. The boat would be right outside here, which caused the blind spot to the back door, but now the boat is not there. That's why I look at everything. Any angle I can get to, I will look at. And this is what helped me to understand that there were blind spots from two areas of the house. The main area to get to the building, and then the back door. And then I started looking for the blind spots. What was attached to the property? How far away from the property this particular item here was, only to find that you could see this before you ever get to see the property. And I said, how unusual that is. And then we find out that it is part of the property. And that this was the first place that Don came to when he came home that evening after finding out that Summer went missing. Once again, this photo comes from True Crimes, Rocket Science. I think it's Rocket Science, True Crimes, the most authentic voice in true crimes. The guy out in the UK. I know it's a bad impersonation. I know. I don't know if anybody subscribed to this guy. I mean, yeah, he does pretty good out there, but it's just his intro that cracks me up. But nonetheless, he's working in the UK on this case. Michelle from the Dark is working on this case. But I just found his channel recently, and his intro is just interesting to listen to. Taking a photo from his channel and giving him credit for it, I was able to get a couple of emails pertaining to Summer sleeping in the car. I was hoping to have that here to share with you. There's the red Subaru. Red Subaru, red pickup truck, Toyota Tacoma. What do they both have in common? Color, red. Shape, size, make, and model, different, but color, red. Still have to factor that in there. The yellow car, the one that Donald brings into the narrative, belonging to someone that was having eyes for Summer during his time there on the property. You mean to tell me there was nobody on that property when these people weren't? Things that make you go, We talked about that in our last live. We talked about the dogs in our last live. Donald says the dogs weren't there. I said, well, how would you know if you're at work? Just like the phone call that Candace got that Hunter questioned. He said, well, if he's talking about somebody on the property touching kids, how would he know that if he's at work? Double whammy. Possibilities of an accident we talked about a little bit on our last live. But I wanted to ask you a question. And I think Chris can answer this if he goes live next. And if you're watching, Chris, I wanted to ask you this because you're the only person I can ask of this particular location in the house. When you saw Candace turn around and go down these flight of stairs, and you did the same thing, how tight, and I think you tried to describe how tight this particular area was in width, not necessarily in depth, but just in width alone. And I think Chris stands about maybe 5'6", 5'7". He's kind of stocky, that good stocky, that healthy stocky. And then you take a look at Donald Wells, and take a look at his height and weight dimensions, do you think on a rainy day, Donald was going to be the one to turn around and go down these stairs as tall as he is? And he's about, what, 6'3", 6'2"? And I'm just being generous. On days that it rained or snowed, I think Donald used that back door far more than he used the stairs. That's just me. And I'm at 6'1½". I'd look at these stairs and say, oh, hell no. Oh, no, I'm not doing this. I'll just go out the front door, swing around the property just like Summer comes off her swing, and use the back door. I'm too tall for that. I just couldn't see. I was looking at this, and I just couldn't see Donald coming up and down the stairs, just the way we saw Candace and Chris do it. Summer, I can understand with her small frame. Very petite. 40 pounds? Oh, yeah. You could put about maybe a couple of Summers in there, and they can all go down the stairs together. But Donald going up and down these stairs, up and down every day, how many times a day? I see Donald using that back door. Hence, maybe the reason the back door wasn't locked. Because Donald comes through that back door. Right, Donald? Okay. I'm winding down, folks. I know when I get lit up, I get lit up. Much love to all 417 of you still sticking with John Q tonight. I know I got some love on my like panel. Thank you so much. But we got questions for Donald. I think I laid them out here tonight that Donald needs to really answer directly. His phone call to Candace. Why didn't he mention the phone call to Candace earlier in the day pertaining to what Hunter told us? He said he called and it was a little after 3, give or take, when they were at the house when Summer went missing. That's the only call that he was able to identify with Chris. But not the call to Candace when she was on the road. Why? What time did you get home, Donald? We heard his answer on Chris's show. Where did you go first to search for Summer, Donald? Why did you do that, Donald? When did you come in contact with Candace once you got home, Donald? Candace, what time did Donald show up at the house when he arrived? What did he say to you when he got there? What were you doing when he got there? Many unanswered questions here. What time he got to work? He told us what time he got up. That was simple. What time you get to work, Donald? Did you have breakfast? And then what did you do after that? Conversation for 30 minutes. Gotcha. Okay. What'd you do after that? You were on the phone with Candace 30 minutes. It was remarkable on how that signal didn't drop when you were on your way home, speeding down the road, almost flying off the road, getting home. But once you got there were no police, didn't see anybody in sight. But the first place you looked when you got home was the shed. And didn't even look in that, if you did. Not sure you did. Could have, maybe after. I'm not sure. I could have done it before, but I'm not sure of that. I might have came back later and checked it, but I'm not even sure of that. I checked the residence. I checked outside. Where did you check on the residence, Donald? No specifics. And that leads anyone to believe that there's deception there. vague terms, nothing specific. And this is the reason why we're looking at both Candace and Donald and Grandma in the light that we are looking at them in. As the sheriff said, everybody's a suspect. He didn't take anything off the table. Whether you passed a polygraph test or not, everybody's a suspect. And I'm glad he confirmed his firmness on that. Because I'm sure that if he's been watching any of the series that Chris has been doing, any of the YouTubers that have been covering the case, including mine, he's come to his conclusions to say, we got to keep an eye on this boy. We definitely got to keep an eye on this boy. And for him just being out there and saying that he wanted Dave Rader to come back to search his hill when he already had told the police, she ain't here. They just wouldn't listen to me. He was adamantly telling Chris, I was trying to tell him, but they wouldn't listen. I don't know. Maybe I've said it wrong. Maybe I wasn't communicating properly. I don't know, Donald. Are you communicating properly? How can we understand you and your communications? Now, I'm not attacking Donald. I'm just pulling out my observations and what have already been covered as factual information covered by another content creator by the name of Chris McDonough. That's the only information that I am challenging Donald's narrative with, if you notice. And my own independent observations along with the interview's information. Because it stands to reason that a lot of the story is not clear when it comes to Donald's side of the story. The story is not clear when it comes to Candace. The story is definitely in the dark when it comes to Grandma. The story is dark when it comes to the boys. I wish dogs could talk, because with the amount of dogs that Chris ran into on his first visit there at the property, my goodness, we could have an assembly. And if dogs could talk, I wonder what Chris would have found out from them on how many different people have been on that property, how long they've been on that property, who is familiar with your property, how many times they visited you, how long they stayed, what they ate, whether they were holidays or not. You know more about the dopers that live on the block than you do the timeline that involves your daughter going missing. How is that? I got a whole lot more questions for Donald, but I'm not the one to ask. But I'm glad we do have somebody that's out there in the forefront asking the hard questions. Thank you, Chris McDonough, for doing that. This picture was sent to me. I wanted to give credit to I don't want to say the name, but you know who you are. I like to keep people's information confidential, as I always do. But this picture was sent to me. I wanted to take a careful look at the picture. I wanted to study the picture. I was able to get the best clear quality of the picture because I was looking for specific things. And then we'll end it for tonight. Things in this picture, very interesting. We notice this piece of Skittles on the seat here. So Summer was having some kind of Skittles in the car, candy in the car. Orange bottle of soda, whether that was hers or not. It was undetermined whether Hunter knew that there was an orange bottle of soda there. He didn't seem to know that it was there or it existed. Summer in her school outfit, the long sleeve, long pants outfit, seat belted by the waist only, nothing above the shoulders. She does appear to be sleeping on 2-gallon containers of milk that was bought at the Payless food market. I tried to take a very careful look at this box. To see if I could read anything on the box, but sometimes that could throw you off. I did mention before that it appeared when I first saw it that there was an arm wrapped around the back of the seat here, and that somebody had on a short sleeve type of shirt, and this was the arm reaching behind the seat. Well, obviously you can see it is not a human arm. It is a piece of wood. You could literally see the treads of grain on the wood, like a 2x4. So I was happy to find that information and eliminate the arm. We looked at the back window here where I thought I had seen a red truck in the back, but looking at it carefully, let me pull out a little bit. I noticed that this was a tote or tub, the color red, sitting in the back rear view window right behind Summer. So I was able to get correction on that. But when you're first appearance, it did look like there was a vehicle back here, but I was looking for lights and didn't see it. I was looking for the shadow of a body in this area, didn't see it. Then I had to draw back and find out that there were items inside of this red tote. I tried to identify what's behind the red tote. I'm still working on that. If I come back with anything, I will let you know. What else did I see? Someone said something about Summer's face, ears, that there was some kind of black and blue, some kind of discoloration here. I can't say anything more than what I see. It doesn't alarm me. Nothing in Summer's face alarms me. There is a cut over her eye, over her right eye. But other than that, hairline, nothing that alarms me. Skin to the neck, nothing alarms me. Someone said that there was some kind of liquid here underneath the seatbelt. I don't know who brought that up. There's really no significance that would be alarming. I don't know if you can see that. Two things. It could be the shadowing, light shadowing under the buckle. That's one. That's one. Don't hold me there, though. Oh, John Q said it was a shadow. I don't think that's a shadow. I think that's liquid. I'm going to include that. Give me a break. Don't push. This could be spillage, possibly, from the soda. It doesn't appear to be it does appear to be half full or less than that. So she could have been drinking it at one point, maybe spilled a little bit. But who's to say what that is? But nothing that would cause alarm. that was my point. Nothing to cause alarm. Pulling away. Somebody said something about her hands, the way they were. I don't see any alarm here. People sleep differently. She's a small child. You know, when we come into the world, our hands and fingers are not open, but to a degree, they're more fist clenched than anything else. But they naturally look okay, just in a sleeping position. No discoloration. Somebody said something about the nails. Okay. Nothing out of the ordinary about the nails in terms of any purple, blue, or lividity that I can see. We can only see what we can. I'm trying not to make a whole lot about it because I don't see a whole lot about it that would cause me alarm to say, wait a minute, what is that? And for me to take a careful look about it. But I don't see any alarm here on both hands. Children will play. And as we saw Summer play on her swing and splash in the water at the watering hole, kids are going to be rough. Kids are going to be rough. And they're going to fall down, and they're going to scrape their knee, and they're going to run through bushes and cause little scratches on their legs. Give or take. They fall down. That's the way kids are built when they're that age. But nothing that would cause me alarm. She's just exhausted after being up, I guess from laying in bed with McDonough and Candace. It did disturb me that Donald did not mention anything in reference to Candace being with them while laying down. He was more speaking in a way, it just seemed like it was just him and Summer. And that bothered me. I know it bothered a lot of you too. She wanted me. She wanted to be with me. And in the way he says that, infers something more. As Chris and Scott, I believe, Mr. Johnson, had covered in his forensic analysis statement just the day before, you know, it was that bonding language, if you will. That's what you heard. And every time Donald opens his mouth about him and Summer, it's always a bonding language, and almost more so than normal for a parent and child relationship. And I was, you know, it was the kind of language that was used to a point to where if Candace did hear his description as to what his relationship was with Summer, it would make her jealous. That kind of language, her better than you kind of language. I spent more time with her than you. Why does Candace smoke and drink before going to bed? I'm sure she crashes out. So what would she know as to what would happen throughout the night? I'm hitting some points because that's what I see. That's what I hear. What would Candace know if she's comatose? And it sounds like she does that on a regular basis. Like a night ritual. Just like Donald does on a regular basis. Some kind of night ritual. This is how they go to bed. This is how they wake up. Kind of kind of thing. It's nothing to them because they've been doing it for so long. They're conditioned. So it's natural and normal for them to say, oh, Summer was laying beside me. She wanted to lay beside me. She just wanted me. Language like that. It's natural for Don to say that. Perhaps he's been doing it for a very long time. But it was elicited out into the open. I'm glad we got a chance to hear that, see it, understand it, and then put that into the case composite, into the profile. But I did want to let there were several people who sent me this picture. Thank you. Thank you for assisting me in doing the work that I'm doing on this case. Much love goes out to you. So I think I've covered what I wanted to, but we need justice for Summer. I think we're getting closer. I believe that there will be some bracelets for several people. I hope they get it all. Every last drop. There's any counts that are going to be on the table. I hope they get every single count they need and get this off the table as quickly as possible. I know I covered a lot, as I always do. We see a lot. We're connecting as many dots as possible. And this story and the case is still unfolding. I don't believe that I've covered information that would jeopardize or tamper with the investigation. In fact, I would consider what I did tonight running alongside of Chris McDonough and what he's doing with the case. But he does it far better than me. Far, far better than I do. But that's what I wanted to share. But in closing, one more time, let's hear what Donald and Chris had to say in that part when he went home.
I was a kid for Summer, hoping that she was just lost and around there close somewhere.
Right. And then what about in her bedroom and stuff? Did you look down there?
Well, yeah. Candace went under too, and she looked under everywhere, under everything,
Right.
She told me,
Right, but that was different than you, though, right? Did you?
Yeah, but I did. Yeah, I looked everywhere also. Yes.
And what about the door?
I don't remember. No, I do know the boys. We cuss them because they just leave it wide open all the time.
Right.
You got to keep that locked or shut, and they just don't listen.
Right. Could Summer open that door?
Probably so. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
How many times you seen her open it? If you know.
I don't know, but she's pretty intelligent for her age. She's real intelligent, very smart, very agile.
Yeah, Miss Robbins said that too.
Yeah, she loves to run. I could be running my lawnmower, and she would just run behind me constantly the whole way, nonstop. The boys would be riding their little motorcycles, and she'd be right behind them all the way, over and over around the house, just nonstop. Plenty of energy.
Would she chase them?
Well, she'd just be running behind them, laughing. Right. She wouldn't be, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Like
just
kids,
having fun.
Like little kids do.
Yeah, she don't even need a bike or motorcycle.
Right. So tell me more about her personality.
Listen carefully.
She would always come to me, Dad, and hold my hand so I can twirl. And I'd hold my arm there, and she'd just sit there and twirl till my arm just about give out. She loved to do that. Sometimes we'd play rock and roll music or whatever music, and she liked that song Godzilla. I had it saved on my phone, and everybody put me down for that. But for something about Godzilla, she just lied. She'd always say, well, he's a nice monster. He gets all the bad monsters. He takes care of all the bad monsters. Yeah. So just
if they only knew, right? If the little kids only knew.
Yeah.
And so when you pull up and you see Grandma, what was Grandma doing?
Just kind of standing there dumbfounded, if I remember right.
Do you get along with Candace's mom?
I haven't for a long time. We fought for a long time. She's the reason I got arrested and charged the way I did, because she told him I put real bullets in a muzzle loader. And that was 10 years mandatory, no bond.
Tell me about that.
Well, when I come back from Utah, I was trying to move my family to Utah. I've always knew that something was going to happen to Summer. Something in my gut has always told me, and I've always told Candace, watch her closely. That's my baby. Do not let nothing happen to her. I told her that all the time.
What brought you to that thought?
I don't know. I couldn't put my finger on it. I didn't know what it was, or I just always had this feeling that something's going to happen to her. I didn't know if she was just going to get accidentally run over. I didn't know what it was.
Did you think she would be kidnapped?
Never, nothing like that.
Okay.
No, I just knew it was something. I just had this intense love for her, and I think she knew something too. I think something was. I don't know if you believe in guardian angels or what, but it's something. It's something.
So you get back. So walk me through that incident, because I know.
Okay, it's something. It's just something. I can't put my finger on it. It's just so vague, obscured, ambiguous. There's nothing ever specific other than his closeness to Summer. It seems like everything else is just ambiguous, very obscured, very foggy with the rest of what happened. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to play the whole interview or anything. You can get that off of the interview room there on Chris's channel. And you can listen to it in its entirety, go over it again. And you'd be amazed at the character and personality that Donald Wells emits from his persona as he describes June 15th, the day his daughter went missing. And I think he did an excellent job in covering this dynamic of the case. Excellent job. Excellent job. So once again, a copyright disclaimer. If I've shared any information on here that does belong to another content creator, it was only to shed light and bring awareness to the Summer Wells case. I am using this information under copyright disclaimer and under fair use. And if I have mispronounced or misspoke your channel and your content, there was no intentions of me doing so. I try to do my best to identify those content creators that have made this contribution, that I share their information on my platform. And so with that said, if there was any piece of your content that was maybe misconstrued in some way, shape, or form, just get in contact with me by email, and we can go from there and discuss any kind of remedy or resolution to it. And I will go back and come back on live and admit that there was a correction that needed to be made. I'll get right to it and take care of it. That is my word. Okay, folks, that is what I wanted to share with you in tonight's live. It's a lot. It'll continue to be a lot because more is coming in. And the more it comes in, the more fine-tuned it becomes. And my commentary at this point and what I shared with you in these 3 lives is that there's some people that need to be held responsible for what happened to Summer Wells. No doubt. Hands down. There's some negligence here that needs to be addressed by the proper authority. I don't think giving a 15-year-old any kind of alcoholic beverage shows the right example, especially if you're an adult doing it, or condoning anything of that type, if you're even related to the 15-year-old. I've seen some things about this case that has really opened my eyes in various different ways, especially coming from the Kanika Jenkins case and coming from the Classic and Sincere's case, coming from the Cash Gernon case, and now coming to Summer Wells's case. All of these cases have taught me to look at things and to understand these things in a way to get to the truth. Because what happened to our children, these children that we are talking about, is absolutely incredible. And it just seems like deception comes in many forms, shapes, and sizes. It doesn't care what your age is, and it don't care how old you are. It's not a color thing. It's not a culture thing. It's a human thing. It's played its part in mankind for eons since we've been here. And it will continue to play its part, unfortunately. But the beautiful thing about it is that so will truth. Truth will outstay, and outdo false deception in every one of its forms, shapes, and sizes. Thank God. One thing we do know is that the truth don't bend, it doesn't break, and it's not going to fold. It will stand. The light will reveal it, only because we have to destroy the lie that's in front of it. Tonight, in making this contribution, I hope I'm tearing down that lie. I know that Chris on his channel has made that contribution, and I see the lie being destroyed right in front of us. I can only jump in with him and help him to continue to destroy it, because that's where the truth is. That's where it is. And so I give to you what all content creators hopefully intend to give to you, to the best of our ability and to the best of our awareness and our knowledge, is to take a look at something and tell you what it is. Tell you what you not want to know, but for you to decide for yourselves. I can only show it to you, present it to you, give it to you, walk you through it the way I see it, and then you can decide later as to whether it fits or not. Hopefully tonight, we got a couple of more pieces that are connected, that does fit, does follow, and will get us there to the truth a whole lot faster. Okay. I know we got we had almost 500 people sitting up here with us tonight. We're winding down to about 3:30, and I will be back. This case is not over. We still have some work to do. I know that Chris has a lot of work to do. He's still working on it. But I'm just glad that I'm in good company, not only with the content creators following the case, but with you, who decide to spend at least another 3 hours with John Q, covering the case, covering the elements, covering the moving parts, and just some of the possibilities of where this case is going. When it comes to the abduction theory, It does stand strong and firm on the table. When it comes to the accident theory, it does stand on the table because there are some possibilities of an accident here that are just not being revealed to us yet. That's what I'm focusing on right now. Other content creators are forming timelines, and we can get that information from them once it becomes available. Other folks are covering other different aspects of Facebook, postings, and other news clippings as best as they can, just to reveal what we've already covered, or maybe some new insights as to what are some of the possibilities they're thinking about. Thank you, Jennifer Rebecca. Thank you, Roxanne Williams. Thank you all for joining John Q this evening. We have some great mods in here. Thank you, Miss Nay, for holding the fort down. We have Mr. Boss Blake up in here. Obsidian, I seen you. Expose the truth. I don't remember, or I don't want to sound like Donald now, right? I don't remember making you a mod, but if you're a mod, you did a great job, and I'm going to hold you. I think you did a great job in holding the room down. We don't have drama in here, obviously, as you can see. There may be some chatter back and forth, but not enough to take us off our point, to distract us. We do cover a lot of information in the best time frame possible to give you what you're looking for in this case. I'm glad people consider my channel in regards to the Summer Wells case, as well as the other content creators, because we're just trying to help. We're just trying to do a decent job.